Hey friend, welcome to Healthy with Heather Brown. If you don't know where to start with balancing being healthy and loving the life you already have, I got you, friend. And yes, of course, we're still gonna enjoy some Chick-fil-A. I'm here to come alongside you and encourage you to fall more in love with your creator, your spouse, your kids, and your own health journey. We'll talk about how to let your good things grow until they become daily habits, with the occasional dad joke and point of view from my Yankee hubby, Eric. Don't stress, let's hop on this Hot Mess Express together. So join me, Heather Brown, as we unpack what it looks like to live a life well loved. Guys, this is so exciting. This is the first time that I'm getting to interview my very favorite guest, Eric Brown. We get to have our whole own episode today together, babe, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, how's your day going so far?
Going well. I think this is pretty appropriate. Got my workout in already today.
Whoop, whoop.
Got my pre-workout in.
Yes, so, what's it called?
It's called Lit AF. I'm still not sure what the AF stands for, but I have some thoughts about that. I am wired right now for this.
Heck yeah, that's what I like to hear, babe.
All right.
Awesome. Let's go.
All right.
So we figured it would be very appropriate to talk about how Eric and I prioritize health and fitness in our relationship. And so, Eric, you obviously have already gotten your workout in today. Check. I've already gotten my workout in today. Check, check. So let's talk a little bit about, in the beginning of our relationship, who do you think was more interested in health and fitness, me or you? And what did that look like when we first met?
I do think that is a good question. And so we've been married for 13 years now, and I think it's the way we view fitness, it's kind of evolved, just like our relationship has evolved over those 13 years. From the very beginning, I think we realized how important it was to be physically fit, but I think as we've gotten older, it's only been emphasized even more how important that truly is. But I think when we first started dating and when we got married, I wouldn't say it was a top priority in our relationship.
I would agree with that. And I actually think maybe we could even talk a little bit about our parents. I feel like your parents modeled for you maybe even working out and such more than my parents would have. What did that look like for you growing up with your parents and what you saw modeled for you?
One thing we both talk about as well too is growing up in the 80s, fitness I feel is first starting to become more popular and more accepted. But even then we talk about our diets growing up in the 80s, the early 90s, and how much more diet and exercise has been emphasized over the past 10 years. So while my family definitely demonstrated, my mom would work out, my dad would work out on the Nordic track every morning in our basement, big Nordic track fan. But yeah, I always had that background, but never really the intensity, or I would say the routine was really instilled. I think that's just something that comes with just natural growth and maturity as well too.
I would agree. I was chuckling a little bit to myself when you were talking about the diet and how it's changed since the 80s. Will you tell everybody what you used to get fed as your fuel for your swim meets from your mom?
Oh yeah, classic. The big idea before swim meets was you got a carb load. So my mom, she would bake potatoes before our swim meets. Not just before the swim meets, like before the race, like right before the race. All right, you have to eat this whole potato, but the kicker was it came with a bottle of squeezed Cheese Whiz that you would put on your potato. So she's, oh, this would be great. You have your carb load. Meanwhile, we're doing 50-meter sprints. Don't really need a ton of carbs for that. And I'm pretty sure that Cheese Whiz probably weighed us all down. But anyways, it turned out okay. But just different ways of thinking about diet and learning about nutrition. But yeah, the baked potato was...
That takes the cake.
Takes the cake for
You
sure.
live and you learn.
Most definitely.
Oh my gosh. And I would say that I grew up where we ate a lot of casseroles, a lot of sweet tea. Being in the South, every meal sweet tea was served. And you had to either have your mashed potatoes, which my mom homemade pretty much 5 days a week, which is really impressive now when you think about it actually. So I do think that my parents did a good job of instilling that you should eat at home. And we did save a lot of money that way and all those kind of things. We would do the occasional family walk, but I definitely don't feel like my parents had a routine of working out as much as your parents did, even though my dad's job was pretty physically demanding. So he inevitably stayed more in shape, I think, than most people. And then my mom was a mom. So she was a stay-at-home mom running around trying to keep up with us. And we all know that's a workout, keeping up with young kids anyway.
So I have a question for you.
Great.
And I think this kind of goes to a little bit of the root of the question of how important is physical fitness in your relationship. But my question to you is, how important do you think physical attraction is in a relationship? Because a lot of times couples will ask us and they'll ask specifically, how important is physical attraction in your opinion in a relationship? Because sometimes physical attraction is a big part. Other times more of the intellectual conversation, that kind of relationship is more important. But how important would you say physical attraction is in your mind to a relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. I joke with Eric that it's embarrassing how boy crazy I was growing up as like a high schooler and then college student, which is funny because I really only ever had one boyfriend before Eric. So not to get too deep into our relationship history, I'm sure that'll come in later episodes, but I find it very important actually. And not that I think that looks are that's it. I don't think it's like looks are a 10 out of 10 of the most important thing, but I do think that if someone is attractive and that you have that natural attraction to them, it's very attractive also when they take care of their body. So to me, I obviously think you're very good looking. I noticed Eric across Sanford's campus right away, those blue eyes, they lured me right in, and I thought he was very good looking. But what was really impressive to me was how, as we've gotten older and you have worked on your fitness.
Hold on, you thought all 130 pounds of me in college when you first met me was attractive?
I did, believe it or not.
It's very kind of you.
Anyway, I thought Eric was hot stuff. Also, to be fair, Sanford is about a maybe 70-30 split of female to male. So when you saw a good looking guy across campus, you're like, oh, duly noted. But anyway, yes, I think that it's very important to me to find someone that's attractive. However, I also think that there are things that people do, their personalities, their love for the Lord, their intelligence, their good conversation that make them more attractive. How would you answer that question? As a guy.
I'm glad you asked. So I would say as a guy, I think for most men, physical attraction probably is generally more important to men than it is to females. I especially think, and you mentioned at the very beginning, you saw me across campus and that was kind of an initial spark for you. And I think it's the same way for men, especially. For a lot of men, there has to be that initial physical attraction, and that kind of gets you over the first hurdle. And that, at least that opens up a male's mind to have a conversation and get a little bit deeper. But I think for a lot of men, the physical attraction is very important at the beginning. I'm not saying it's the be all and end all, but I mean, for me personally, of course, I thought you were very physically attracted. Met on spring break.
It's not as sketchy as it sounds, friends.
Yeah, and we can talk more about that later. But physical attraction, I think from a men's perspective, is very important. And I think that kind of goes into the original question of how important is fitness in our relationship. And one thing we talked about when we were even dating and when we first got married was the importance of remaining physically fit, but also being attractive to one another. And I think we both hold each other accountable with our fitness and trying to look good for one another.
I would agree with that. And I think that's one thing that to me is a little bit different in you and I's relationship versus when I talk with other friends of mine. They did not have this discussion as much, I'm finding. And I feel like our pastor in premarital counseling even asked us to think about what were our expectations of each other. And that led to us talking about our physical expectations. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that, Eric, and how we kind of agreed to hold each other accountable in that way? And has it ebbed and flowed over the years, in your opinion?
So I think you might have to go into a little bit more detail with that question. I don't know if I'm really following exactly.
No, you're fine. So Mr. B, our premarital counselor, he talked with us about what are your expectations for somebody in a marriage. So he talked about things like, who's going to take the trash out? Just because your mom did the dishes, do you expect Heather to do the dishes? So we talked back and forth about those things. But then one thing that he also said was, what would be your physical expectations of each other? So do you feel like we talked about that pre-marriage? And do you feel like we have talked about what our workout goals and how we want to eat healthy throughout our relationship? And do we spur each other on in that or no?
So I do remember we initially brought up that conversation, but I feel like it was more something that you and I just talked about. It wasn't necessarily a set thing we spoke about in premarital counseling.
That could be true. Eric has a better memory than me.
But, I mean, we were just talking about, we always said, so I remember specifically what we did talk about was, I said, Heather, I want you to hold me accountable if you ever feel like maybe I'm not working out as much, or for whatever reason, maybe just haven't gotten out of those routines or those healthy habits, I want you to hold me accountable and be truthful with me. And you said, I completely agree. I want you to do the same thing with me. Fortunately, we haven't had to have too many of those conversations or discussions, as we call them. But I will say, I think it's a matter of holding each other accountable. I see you working out a lot, and that makes me want to work out even more. So it's just a person modeling behavior and the other person wanting to model that back. I think it's just one way that you show that you view the other person in a way that is, I guess, just beneficial, and it's almost respectful in a way.
Yes, I would agree. And I think that you and I do a really good job of spurring each other on and encouraging each other to be able to find the time to work out. So I really appreciate, Eric and I have a routine on Saturday mornings where, because we're obviously trying to figure out childcare and all these things, I go to Burn Boot Camp. And so on Saturday mornings, I'll get up in the morning and Eric will handle the boys in the morning for me, which is so nice. I go work out at a 9 o'clock class, and then we literally meet in his gym parking lot. He gives the boys to me and I take them home so then he can take a workout class. And I really appreciate that about you, babe. I feel like you do a really good job of saying, oh, you didn't get to work out this morning, so you can go this evening and I'll take care of the kids or what have you.
And I think that all goes back to communication, because I wouldn't know what your expectations are unless we spoke about those things. And one thing I feel like is at the core of our relationship, and we talk about this a lot, is as long as you have my best interest at heart, and as long as I have your best interest at heart, things typically tend to work out. And I think it's the same thing with physical fitness and making those things and making those priorities as far as kids are concerned, dropping the kids off at the gym. And it's a matter of communicating. I know working out and having that time just to yourself is important. And I know you feel the same way for me as well, too.
Yes, absolutely. And I even think that Eric and I, through the years, obviously it looks different when you don't have kids and you have more time to get to the gym and do all these different things. But then there might be seasons where, like, Eric was an accountant and he traveled all the time. So, like, for him to figure out a gym schedule was hard. There's obviously ebbs and flows where you or I have been more healthy or less healthy throughout our relationship. But I feel like we both feel the most in sync and on the same page when we both feel good individually. And for both of us, I feel like we get a lot of energy from the endorphins of working out. We have more confidence in ourselves. And then I think it leads to more health in our marriage. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and I was actually going to say something very similar to that, as far as you go through those ebbs and flows of working out and physical fitness in your life. But like you mentioned, when you're working out, you tend to feel better about yourself. And if you feel better about yourself, a lot of times you'll feel better about your relationship. You get that confidence. And I tell people a lot of times as well, too, you need to be confident in yourself. You need to be confident in your marriage. You need to fight for your marriage. And physical fitness is just one of those things that helps instill that confidence in yourself and in your relationship. And I think it's vitally important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, babe. I think those are some really good points. Y'all, if you've ever looked up and saw it was 5 o'clock and didn't know what the heck you were going to put in front of your kids for dinner, girl, I feel that. Same here. I used to frantically open up my pantry and freezer just looking for whatever I could throw together. Somehow, I landed a job at a meal planning company and I had to figure it all out. I was taught by the #1 meal planning company in the nation how to write meal plans that are time effective, cost effective, and to help get dinner on the table, period. Over the years, I perfected a system that also makes it healthy. So if you don't know where to start and you feel like you're busting your budget and never know what to eat to be healthy or get your kids to eat it, I've written a comprehensive guide for you and your family. This guide is your quick fix to getting food on the table that's healthy, affordable, and your kids will actually eat. Through simple hacks, tips, worksheets, and more, the ebook speaks to the heart of busy mamas trying to save money, save time, and eat healthy while cultivating special family moments around the table amidst the chaos. With tons of printables, recipes, and shopping ideas, plus my step-by-step strategy that holds your hand as you set up your own meal plan, you will learn how to shop your pantry and plan in the right order. This book has already been a game changer for so many, so visit www.mylifewellloved.com/ebook to grab yours now and use code PODCAST to get 15% off. So I do want to kind of move on to the next thing that I feel like you and I work on pretty diligently. So you and I have always been on the same page that we want to prioritize, if possible, cooking at home and trying to save money in all these different ways. So how would you say that we as a unit encourage each other to stay healthy when life gets crazy busy and it's easier to just pick up food or skip workouts? What does that look like for us when the rubber meets the road?
So I really think, once again, it goes back to communication. And a lot of times it goes back to teamwork as well too. A lot of times if the burden is just on the wife or the burden is just on the husband to do dinner or whatever task it may be, sometimes those things can build up and almost feel like too much of a burden. But a lot of times, as far as dinner is concerned and nutrition is concerned, we take a team approach. A lot of times I will grill or cook the main protein. You'll help with the healthy sides. But one of the things that we always have done in our marriage as well too is we've tried to be conscious about how much money we spend on food as well too. I think a lot of times people believe that in order to eat healthy, you have to spend a lot of money. And you can do that if you want, but also too, you can actually eat very healthy on a budget as well too. Our main meals, they typically consist of a main protein, a vegetable side, and typically some type of carb, whether it's a rice or a potato, and keep it pretty simple. But the fact that some nights you'll do the sides and a lot of times I'll do the protein, it just takes that little extra burden off and it makes things that much easier.
I totally agree. And in fact, I tell people this all the time. Eric is definitely the better cook out of the two of us. I would say that I am the main meal planner and budgeter as far as, so back in the day, I was looking back on the blog, babe, in 2014, I actually wrote a blog post about how we only spent $40 a week on groceries. And I remember that so vividly when we were in that massive like saving period and literally like getting out my Publix ad and like circling what was BOGO and like planning our meals around that. And obviously working at emails back in the day too, that kind of forced me to learn how to write a coherent meal plan based on sales. And I just think that, like you said, it's a common misconception you have to spend so much money on healthy meals, but that's just not true. And I think that you're luckily open to leftovers, which I appreciate. And
Big leftover fan.
That's right. And we also, I would say, really try to simplify. Eric keeps talking about communication. That's 100% true. Typically on Sunday, I'll sit down and make our meal plan for the week. And Eric might say to me, that doesn't really sound good to me this week. Can we try to figure out something else? But in general, we are doing what you said. We're doing a protein that you're grilling, couple sides, and then a lot of times we'll do breakfast for dinner because it's easy. You can make healthy choices with that. We can make things the kids like. But I will say, I always like to tell you guys when I have freebies that relate back to this kind of stuff, if you go to mylifewellloved.com/freebies, Eric and I actually have a clean eating pantry staples list on there that you guys can print out. And I'll put that in the show notes too. But I think a lot of times when it comes to eating out, we plan on it. Like we typically are choosing 1 or 2 nights a week where we're having a date night, or it's, oh, the kids are out of school this day, so I'm going to take them by Chick-fil-A. But I think people think just because you meal plan and you eat healthy, you can never eat out. For us, it's more so just balancing it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, most definitely. I think definitely in today's culture and environment, there's always that pressure to try and fit in that last practice for the kids, that last activity, that last birthday party for the kids. With work, all the different work commitments that people have, it's so much more important to try and simplify the things that you can in your life and to communicate with one another to figure out what those priorities are so that you're both on the same page. And yeah, simplification is key. And we talk about that a lot as well too.
Yes. Simplify, simplify, simplify. That's like my motto. I feel like I try to say that as much as I can. And my dad used to always say the quote, which I don't know if this is a common one or just my dad being old school, but he always says, keep it simple, stupid. Old school wisdom.
Very wise man, Mike is.
That's right. Okay, so Eric, why don't you share a little bit about creative or doable ways that we try to get active as a family and or instill the love for taking care of your body and fitness with our kids?
So I think you touched on this a little bit before, how we don't view our kids as an impediment to our physical fitness or our diet. Kids can be picky eaters, but a lot of times what we cook is what they're going to eat. And I remember when Leighton was young, people would always say you would take Leighton to the gym or you would take them wherever you went, and they would call Leighton your ride or die because he was always with you.
That's true.
So it's one of those things, we talk about this in our relationship. We never want our kids to dictate or be the main priority in our relationship. Obviously, they are a big priority, but our main priority is us and putting our relationship above our kids. Now, our kids are right below, don't get me wrong. But our relationship is number one because we know if our relationship is healthy, it's going to be beneficial for our kids as well too.
Yeah.
But as far as practical ways are concerned and simplification, you are a big proponent of walks as a family. And that's one thing my family did growing up as well too. Now, having said that, I have very specific memories of a lot of times griping and complaining about going on those family walks, and probably our kids will feel the same way. But as long as you two can get out, get some fresh air, have an opportunity to maybe have those discussions that you aren't unable to have in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, that's a very big thing. One thing that you have emphasized this summer is trying to get outside more with the kids. Now, granted, it is literally 98 degrees outside right now, which makes it a little bit more difficult.
True that.
But trying to get outside, enjoy nature, going to parks. It's just a matter of, we have a park in our neighborhood, and sometimes I'll get home from work and you'll be like, hey, do you just want to go up to the park for 30 minutes with the kids and let them run around? Yeah, let's go do that. Sometimes we'll grab some food or a little snack and take it up with us, but it's just those little simple ideas that you can implement in your day-to-day life. What would you say?
I actually really love that Burn Boot Camp does have free childcare, so I feel like our kids are seeing us modeling, like taking them with us to the gym, so it doesn't feel like, hopefully when they're older, the gym is a less intimidating place to even walk into, just because that's what they've grown up doing, is just going to the gym with me day in and day out. And especially during 2020 when everything shut down, like Leighton and Finn got to watch me and people, you, whoever, in the neighborhood at home working out, so they got to see that in person as well, which I think is super cool to model that for them. And then also, Eric's really good at incentivizing our kids with treats or whatever the case may be.
Healthy treats, of course.
Oh yeah, obviously. Wink, wink. But we will even tell them, we're going to go to this neighborhood and go on a hike, but then afterwards we might go over to the little neighborhood ice cream shop and get a treat for them or something. So I love that when we go to Moss Rock Preserve. And then we go across the street and we'll be like, you guys can get a lemonade and we'll split an appetizer or whatever.
So I'm going to let you in on a little secret, all right?
Oh gosh, here it comes.
So the incentive is not only for the kids, it's also for me, because a lot of times I know there's a cold beer at the end of those walks as well too. You got to get the kids involved to get yourself a little something too. Yeah.
Treats for the kids.
Incentives are key, that's for sure.
So true. Okay, so Eric, then talk a little bit about our diet. Do we tend to do the same diet? Do we vary it? Do we juggle different tastes in food and diets and compromise together with us and our kids?
So we definitely go through different diets, but I would say about 90% of the time, our diet is fairly normal. It's what we talked about already. It's trying to eat in our house as much as possible. Fast food every once in a while, grabbing a pizza and taking it up to the pool with the kids. That's fine, but I would say about 80% of the time we're trying to eat our meals indoors and cook our meals.
And I will say I really love the opportunity that you grilling outside provides for us to have family time too. That's some of my favorite memories is Eric makes a really big point to play music outside on our wireless speaker. You plug in the lights on the back patio. The kids can run around and either jump on the trampoline or play soccer, or the neighbors are coming over and they're hitting the t-ball or doing whatever. And that is, to me, that's really good for like my emotional and mental health, as well as just like feeling connected to you guys. I love that.
So going back to your original question about different diets. So we do go through phases where we do try different diets. I know you've done Whole30 before in the past. You still do intermittent fasting. And I think one of the biggest keys is supporting your spouse in whatever diet they're trying to do. That doesn't mean that the other spouse has to do the exact same diet, but at least respect your spouse for trying that and try to support them by the foods that are on that diet. Now, I find a lot of times I will end up eating a lot of the same foods that you're eating on your diet, which is also indirectly beneficial for me as well, too.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And now I will do some diets every once in a while, or I'll do a little cut where I try and cut out a lot of the carbs. It's very similar to Whole30. It's basically a little bit of a keto type diet. I will give one word of warning to couples that do dieting together.
Smart.
So you got to give each other a lot of grace.
So true.
Because I know when my blood sugar drops and maybe I'm not getting as many carbs as I used to, I can get a little persnickety a little bit.
Good word.
If you will. A little agitated.
They call it like the whole 30 flu,
The whole 30
right?
flu, yeah. It literally feels like the flu, but basically just your temper gets a little bit more short, you get a little bit more agitated, and it's very important to give each other grace. I think you were on a diet recently as well, too, and I can't remember what the specific situation was, but going back to communication, I was like, hey, I think just want to realize that you seem like you're maybe just like a little bit more of a short fuse, which is not common for you. You are one of the most patient people I know. But
Thanks, babe.
I just wanted you to be aware and give each other grace. Like, I understand we're not eating a lot of calories right now. Let's just understand what's going on here.
So
You
true.
know?
So true.
So very important to give your spouse some grace.
Yes, I think that's a really good point. And also, I think that when you are doing different diets and you're trying different things out, like you said, it's really important to be supportive. Like, a lot of times I'll even say to Eric, I know you're wanting to start this new diet. What do I need to put on the grocery list at Costco to help support you in that? Or even just communicating about, okay, if you're not doing carbs right now, I'm probably going to make a rice on Wednesday night and I'll have that with the kids. But communication, it really does all go back to communication.
Another question for you.
Bring it.
What would you say to a spouse where the other spouse is not on the same page or not as supportive with the other person doing a specific diet? What would you say to that spouse to maybe encourage them or help them not to change their spouse's diet, but basically help them to understand why they're doing the diet?
So you're saying, for instance, if a wife is wanting to get healthier and the husband, no, I still want to eat whatever I want to eat, what would I tell that wife to, like, how to persevere?
Yes.
Okay. I think that I would say to the wife, and I think about this honestly with my kids. So my kids obviously are not going to only eat, like when Eric and I are doing keto, we want them to still have carbs. This is maybe a little bit selfish on my part, but it's a good trick that I've learned. I try to buy things to have in the house for the kids that they will enjoy, that's more carbs, more calories, more sugar, whatever it is. Not that I do that all the time. I don't want people to hear me say that I'm just feeding my kids only sugar, but I try to buy things that I don't like. So Leighton really likes Nilla wafers. So I'm like, okay, great. Well, then I'm going to buy the Nilla wafers for him to have as a treat if he eats all his dinner so that I'm not tempted by it. So I think maybe you can even do that with your spouse. If your spouse loves some of these things, but that maybe aren't your favorite, then you could do that. Or even thinking like, I'm making them this chicken casserole because they want something heartier, heavier, but I'm going to hold out some of the chicken for myself to do the chicken's cooking in the skillet at the same time as their meal is cooking in the oven. Just to try to find ways to tweak it a little bit. What would you say?
So I think a lot of it is, and I would be the first one to admit that maybe early on in our relationship, I was always active, but you were definitely the first person in our relationship to really, I would say, prioritize more of a routine of working out. And a lot of that was Pure Barre. And I was able to see you do that. And I would go to the Y and work out and get that workout in. But seeing you being consistent with your routines and getting into classes, whether it was Pure Barre or now Burn Boot Camp, it opened my mind up to trying out a different gym, which is Spartan Fitness now, and getting into that routine. So I would say to those spouses is just continue to persevere, show those good, healthy habits. And eventually, I do believe a lot of times that will click. Now, there are some very stubborn people, and I think there is a way to talk to your spouse in a humble way and in a loving way and explain, I want you to be healthy. I love you. I want you to live for a long time. I'm going to find you attractive no matter what, but I want you to feel confident in yourself. I've seen the changes in my life and how I feel, and I just want you to experience that joy with me. So that's how I would address it.
Eric, so wise. I'm like, you blew my answer out of the water. Great job.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so Eric, just for fun, this is going to be the last question that we do. Do you have any good creative date ideas that involve being active together? Eric is really good at dates and planning them, and I so appreciate that about you, babe.
I do love this question. I don't know if I originally read in this question, what's a creative date idea? I think I just originally read it as, what's a creative idea that involves being active together? And I can definitely think of some creative ideas how to be active together.
Oh, Lord. Classic man answer. God. All right, Eric Brown. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this episode right on up. Okay. Thank thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was a blast, per usual. And Eric, I'm so thankful that you joined me. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Don't forget, you can check out the show notes down below to get any links or resources that we mentioned in this episode. And we will see you guys next time. Oh, hey there. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to take a screenshot of your podcast app on your phone, post it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at Healthy with Heather Brown to let me know your favorite takeaway from this episode.